Well, for more, we can now cross to Nairobi and talk with Irungu Houghton, who is the Executive Director for Amnesty International Kenya. Good morning to you and welcome to the program, Irungu. Talk us about this issue of gun crime in Kenya, because what we just heard is quite harrowing telling from that young man.
Yes, no, the increase in organized crime, but particularly gun crime, has worried Amnesty for several years now. We were very involved in the arms trade treaty that was developed a couple of decades ago. But the guns are increasing, I think, as a result of three drivers. The first is terrorism, but particularly across our northern border, and the threats that come with Al-Shabaab and ISIS. But we've also got large-scale banditry and organized crime in places like the 6 counties of the Northern Rift, and a lot of guns are in the hands of pastoralists there. But the story really talks about the experience of gun crime in informal settlements in Nairobi and Mombasa particularly, and there really the drivers are, poverty, inequality, and also the rise of these urban gangs that are basically beginning to create, I guess, what you'd call militia that take control of services in the urban settlements.
So one might actually wonder then, or ask the question, what are authorities doing about this? What about registration of these guns?
Yeah, I mean the key is registration, and of course amnesty, so recovery of unregistered weapons. On the side of the registration, what we've started to see is guns becoming a status symbol, largely for young middle class individuals, but also among the working class in urban informal settlements. And they are used, or they are rented. They're bought or they are rented, essentially to commit crimes. But I think what we need to do is to see much more attention to the conditions under which people are registered for guns. But the story also talks a lot about unregistered guns that have essentially had their serial numbers wiped off. And that's also part of the problem.
You can actually rent a gun in Kenya.
Yes, there was a very powerful documentary about 3 or 4 years ago called Guns Galore that was an expose and actually, kind of revealed how police officers were selling uniforms, were selling guns, and this was becoming a major problem in terms of crime within places like Eastleigh towards the eastern side of Nairobi.
That is quite shocking to hear. Well, I imagine many people listening in will be shaking their heads. But tell us then, Irungu, when you say that, this is an issue that you've raised before, I wonder, when you're engaging with the authorities, what kind of conversations are you having with them?
The authorities are very concerned about these issues. Obviously, it is a threat to law and order. It is a threat to their own officers. Many of the officers that we speak to as Amnesty International are very concerned to patrol at night, particularly in the informal settlements. So the level of fear doesn't just affect civilians. It actually affects government officers as well. I think there are probably about 3 or 4 things that really will bring an end to this. First of all, like King Kafu, the person that you were interviewing a few minutes ago, spoke about the importance of amnesty and safe amnesty, so that people can turn over weapons and really feel that they will be safe doing that, not that they would be also become part of the statistics. So I think increasing public trust in the amnesty programs is really critical. Creating more incentives around whistleblowing is really important as well. And I think the second area really is around community policing. The distance between police officers and communities is largely the reason why you get these these horrific gun crimes. And I think the more that there is a relationship between the two.
Thank you so much for your time and the issues that you're raising there and the solutions to the gun crime in Kenya. Irungu Houghton, who is Executive Director of Amnesty International Kenya.